This is our third decade of these annual visits and have grown each year. We have a record number of people covering almost all of the member organizations of the conference. And I think it's a tribute to the American Jewish community and to the leadership that they come together across the whole spectrum of religious, ideological, political points of view, spend these days together, learning together, even though they hear very different points of view from the whole spectrum. They understand that we have an overriding responsibility, which is to learn to be able to become the best advocates for Israel when we go home.
This time you're coming to Israel, but on the way you had a very interesting visit to Saudi Arabia. What could you tell us about that visit?
Well, we have not talked much about it because it's part of the understanding. And our interest is in building a long-term relationship. And that is based on confidence, that they can talk to us at the highest level of their government and know that we will treat it with appropriate confidence. It's nice to get headlines, but it's more important to build a relationship. So we met, as I said, at the highest level, including Mohammed Alisa and the top government officials, in very open and I think meaningful discussions, and makes us optimistic about the possibilities for the future. It's not automatic, we know that, but we have visited over the past 25 years many Arab countries. We were the first to visit in some instances, opening the way for Israeli officials to come. We do not see ourselves as representatives of Israel. We are an American Jewish community. We try to play a constructive bridge-building role, and I think that happened this past week. The fact that we had kosher meals for 4 days, that we had a minyan there, and we heard about the intentions to build and to make change.
And you're hearing today, actually, security officials, and that it strengthens the fact that, yes, Saudi Arabia and those other countries in the area, that is really an opportunity for Israel and for the area.
It's a necessity. It's not just an opportunity. And it should be a priority across the board, from Morocco to the Persian Gulf, and many Muslim countries beyond the Arab countries who are anxious to have relations, who deal with us because it's sometimes easier than dealing directly with Israel, but they are moving more and more into quiet relationships and sometimes even open encounters. And that it is the potential to change the region. We began a Mediterranean initiative 10 years ago that we now see in the Cyprus, Greece-Israel relationship, and many other countries coming to us wanting to be part of this. The same thing we see now in the Arab world. It's not going to be easy. It's not an automatic. There are important issues, and especially the Palestinian issue. Although the leadership is tired of it and wants to get past it, they recognize the sensitivity. So there are immense opportunities. Just think on a commercial level what could be done. The new city that Saudi Arabia plans to build will be right opposite Israel. So from Aqaba to Sharm el-Sheikh, with Israel in the middle, together with a city, an area the size of Belgium, growing up right across the sea from them. And that's only one of many. As Arab leaders tell us, Israel drives innovation in the region. And Israel has all the things we need, and we offer much to Israel. So I hope that is a vision that we can fulfill.
Back to here, to Jerusalem, to the event. Very bipartisan. We're seeing leaders from the right and the left, and it's very important for you, especially as we're just a few weeks before the elections.
That's especially important. We always do that, but we want to be clear that we're not here to get involved in the election process. We're Americans. We don't vote here. It's up to the people of Israel to make the decision. But we want to try to understand the dynamics, what's happening, so that...
It's hard to understand when it's the third elections, right, in a year.
It's very hard in the first one, the second one. The third is completely confusing. But we're beyond trying to understand the rules and what will happen, because we don't relate on the basis of individuals or parties. We relate because of the common interest, the values, our heritage, the homeland, the ties of American Jews to Israel, and frankly, the ties of America is not just bound by any particular time or individual or party. The chemistry can be better or worse, but the fundamentals are strong. And even amongst elements that we talk about now that are of concern, fundamentally, when there's a vote in Congress, 400 members support an anti-BDS legislation, overwhelmingly support aid to Israel.
Now, when we talk about American Jewry this past year, we're talking about anti-Semitism. The numbers are going up. What can you tell us about that, and also how you're dealing with it here?
We are addressing it here. We have a panel today of top experts from the attorney generals, from those who are working on the front lines of this issue, and it's something that occupies a great deal of our attention. It is a pandemic. It has spread from Europe to the United States and around the world. I think that we shouldn't exaggerate it beyond what it is. It is a very serious issue. And I think that our efforts to improve the security of our institutions, our efforts to get legislation that will expand the application of the definition of IRA, of an anti-Semitism, or anti-boycott legislation, many other efforts that are underway, getting additional grants to our synagogues, schools, and other institutions to be able to put up security measures. We're such a vast community with so many institutions. It would take billions and billions of dollars to do it properly. So we have to see how we can be effective.
Let's end with a tour you had in the north, the tunnels built by the terrorists, the terror tunnels that the IDF discovered.
I think our leadership, as much as they know, and we have read and followed this, were overwhelmed. You know, we say in the tradition that there's no comparison between hearing about something and seeing something. Seeing the tunnel, going into it, seeing the infrastructure, the investment, the tens of millions of dollars they spent building it, not providing for the people of Lebanon, but putting it into this hate-driven desire to kill Israelis. It so overwhelmed everybody, and I don't care where on the spectrum they were, left or right. Everybody came away and said, now we begin to understand. We see it. You cannot imagine it until you go into that mountain and go down and see how they carved out the steps, and you go layer after level down. So I think it's imperative that people get to see it, to understand it, to know what the enemy Israel faces, how sophisticated, 100,000 missiles plus, Iran behind it, the efforts in Syria to expand Iran's and its malicious activities, and Iraq, of course. So it helps understand what the real burden. While Israel is at peace generally, and we say that Israel is stronger than any of its enemies, the fact is it has very formidable foes, and we can't take it for granted.
Welcome, Hoenlein. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, always.